Hey guys, welcome to another English commentary done by Diggity. This is MSL Season 3 Group C, and it's going to be a match between spoilers, so go watch the other if you haven't. It's going to be between Anytime and Ruby. So Ruby beating Savior and Anytime beating Cal, and Anytime in white at the 9 o'clock position, Cal in yellow at the 12 o'clock position. Going by color theory, it looks like Anytime's sporting white again, and he was victorious last time, so maybe he will once again be victorious. And honestly, just straight on skill level, I'm going to call Anytime on this, because really his micro and macro have just been outstanding lately. And Ruby, even though he played very well against Savior, I don't think it was that fantastic a victory. He just really, he played solidly and did what he needed to do, but Savior didn't pose much of a challenge, honestly. He didn't really give Ruby all that hard a time. I'll get to that in a second. Go check out the SC2, the StarCraft 2 BlizzCast. If you go to us.blizzard/BlizzCast, they've got the SC2 podcast going. Looks like a little bit of minerals there. Sent that probe out a little too quick. Doesn't look like he's going to scout with that probe. He's just going to hit. I think they're laughing about that. Looks like Ruby in the meantime is going to block his front door. Pretty standard on Katrina. This map's Katrina, by the way. Putting down the supply depot at the choke, so he's going to seal himself in initially. And we'll see if he has something clever up his sleeve. If he decides to go some sort of clever tech. Usually what you see Terran players do is, because they have that protected secondary, they just take that protected secondary and just pseudo-seal the front door in the meantime. Unfortunately, protoss players, usually what they want to do is try to stay one base ahead, but I think in the early game, leading up until about the mid-game, it's a big difference. When Terran has an equivalent amount of bases mid-game, and they're just pumping from factories, it's disastrous for protoss players, because then you're end up facing kind of an enormous amount of vultures, an enormous amount of basically tanks, and it's just too much for protoss players to handle. But I think the early mid-game, when you're only dealing with a couple of factories, the two expansions is basically more powerful for protoss, and people can debate that. I'm not even going to claim to be a pro gamer, but that's just been my experience, honestly. It looks like Anytime's not even going to bother scouting. He's immediately just going to put down that second expansion. Scout coming in from Ruby in the meantime. Additionally, guys, go check out se2gg.com. Predictions for all these matches. I have them all there. Wow, I don't think I had Savior losing game 1, but really he just hasn't been playing very well, and he's kind of playing like July this season. Cal doing an interesting blockade. Instead of putting that barracks up to the front, he's kind of staggered it back and built a supply depot along the edge, and that's an odd formation. It looks like Ruby Anytime in the meantime getting down that extractor assimilator, and he's gonna go probably straight into Dragoons from this point. I wouldn't be surprised if he just plopped down a couple of gateways and then just pressed right into Ruby after this, instead of bothering with any tech push. Although, because there's so much territory to cover, oftentimes Reaver drops can be very effective on this map. We'll see. And it looks like Ruby decided to go straight south to scout, and as soon as he hits that choke, he's probably going to turn around. It looks like a scout just waiting outside, and wow, Anytime might be up to a little bit of cheese. He's just hanging back with that probe. The cybernetics core going up for Anytime in the meantime. And, he's kind of setting up as though he's going to block his front door, but not really, and we'll see. Looks like that secondary's up for him, and he's starting to push a few probes down there. Still hasn't produced a zealot, so it looks like he's not even going to bother, just going to go straight for that Dragoon, which makes sense considering the map. This is Katrina. You've got a decent amount of distance. I'm surprised he didn't block that front door with at least something to do with that SCV scout, because he's definitely going to be denied the scout. I guess he's just kind of forgot it, just realized that there's no way he's really going to be able to take the scout. Looks like Ruby's starting to open up his front door now that he has that machine shop going, because he can upgrade to siege, and then just basically allow siege to protect his front door. Anytime in this game is going to be way ahead economically, because as you can see, Ruby has gone for that machine shop and has just now started his command center. It looks like he has produced his zealot to chase that SCV at his base, Blair, as Anytime went straight into taking his secondary. So he's going to be way economically ahead, and obviously in about 3 minutes after you get your gateways down to kind of match production, that equates into a production advantage. So we'll see if that front door seal plus that siege tech is enough to protect Ruby against Anytime's very honestly, it was a very aggressive build going for that first. Not necessarily very vulnerable, because again he was kind of relying on Ruby to not do the scout, and that was very clever on his part. Basically he was understanding kind of the general the layout of this map. He knows that Terran tend to block their front door, so he's going to rely on Ruby being passive and taking that natural expansion. He's just going to beat him to it, basically. A single vulture pushing out, but that because of Anytime's front door, though, I don't think that's necessarily going to be all that effective. It looks like he's going to start producing mines first. Did manage to take down that probe, but really didn't deny any sort of information. As you can see, I don't see any vultures getting through that crack, and it looks like a couple mines going down for Ruby along the side ramp. That's an interesting place for them. And one, I guess that's just for scouting purposes, we'll see. But honestly, it should be just momentarily before Anytime can basically get an observatory up. I wouldn't be surprised if that's his next building. Or I'm sorry, basically, yeah, if that would be his, get the robotics facility and then the observatory, since Ruby has in fact gone vultures with mines. But a third gateway going down, just starting to produce Dragoons at the moment. Maybe he's just going to rely on his micromanagement to get past the mines. And it looks like a third expansion. Ruby is setting up for a third expansion, realizing that he's behind economically, realizing that Anytime went that second expansion, and really that was, I'm not sure if that's really going to help him out. Maybe it's just Ruby's inexperience, but again, he's going to try to rely on just a couple of mines to defend his base to keep Anytime back. He's hoping basically that Anytime is not going to push into him during this kind of intermediate time period, and I'm not sure that, and it just got scouted out by Anytime, and Anytime I think is definitely going to push out at this point. Only a single factory, it looks like 3 vultures and a tank to defend against the 3 gateway push from Cal, and it looks like he's going to push up and clear the mines with that Zealot. A decent job for Ruby realizing that Zealot was starting to push, and now Anytime just going to be very careful, try to use Micro to take out these mines, and I don't think, even with the couple of these vultures, we'll see if Ruby tries to sneak in behind. Gonna maybe use that tank with siege and a couple of those mines to try to defend, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Doesn't look like he has siege tech yet, and he really needs siege tech now. Ruby, in the meantime, going to try to clear that side, and wow, just using a single Dragoon to clear the minefield. Brilliant maneuver, just going to clear it with that single mine, and now there's nothing Ruby can do. He's going to lose this command center. He's got to cancel it now, and he was already behind economically, he was already behind in production, and this is just going to make that worse, and come on, cancel.